Hello everybody, football fans, DAZN fans, anyone who is watching this. This is Football's Hottest Takes, where I tell you what I think is going to happen in an unpopular fashion. Yes, that's right, the last episode that we did was during the Euros, and then I did a couple of short ones for the semi-finals and the final, and here I'm going to put the prediction that I said for the final. Yeah, I wonder, some food for thought perhaps. Yeah, I'll still go 2-1 Spain. Yeah, the only reason I'm showing that is so you know that the 3 takes that are about to come up have got credibility. Yeah, without much basis to go on because no football's been played, I thought I'd just go with my hunch initially and my gut feeling, and I think this is finally the time Arsenal are going to do it. Now, the first reason I say that, if you break it down, well, you have to look at the competition. City and Arsenal are obviously going to be up there. Who else could potentially challenge? Well, Liverpool did last season, but they've lost Jurgen Klopp now. Arne Slot is in, and it's going to be a natural transitional phase for Liverpool this season, especially with Trent, Van Dijk and Salah on one-year deals as well. It's all a little bit precarious, so I can't see Liverpool challenging. Then there's Man United, and I like to call Man United a cyclical club, and the reason I call them that is because, well, they go through the same pattern every single time. They'll finish 4th, and then it'll be, oh, he's done quite well there, Ten Hag. Shall he kick on? Will he challenge for the title the next season? No, they plummet and finish 7th, and then the next season the pressure's off, so they finish 4th again, and this has been going on for a decade, so United will probably finish 4th. Then there's Chelsea. I mean, do I even have to mention? They're not going to finish anywhere near City or Arsenal. Then Aston Villa had a great season last year, but I mean, listen, they've signed some good players, but they've lost some good players as well, Moussa Diaby and Douglas Luiz. Will they be able to juggle Champions League football and domestic football and challenge again? No. So Aston Villa won't be there. Tottenham, however, I think will have a good season. I don't think they'll quite challenge for the title, but we'll come on to that shortly. And then you got like Newcastle as well. Maybe they'll challenge for top 4, West Ham. But listen, realistically, no one is getting near City and Arsenal. So then you look at City, and I think, listen, Pep's a genius. He always wins the league, doesn't he? So it's very, very hard for me to argue against City. But occasionally, in anomalous circumstances, he does lose the title. He did once to Real Madrid, once to Liverpool, and of course to Chelsea in his first season at Manchester City. So every now and then, a team does win the league in favour of the one he's managing. And then for City as well, like, if you think about the past couple of seasons, they've sort of been slow burners. They've not been top of the league, contrary to what a lot of fans think, for the 9 months of the season. They've sort of started slowly, then hit the ground running in the last 10 games. A bit like how Floyd Mayweather boxes, where he sort of feels out the opponent and then bang, was that good technique? Bang, bang, he wins the title. You've got to think about the psychological impacts of winning, and I know in Pep Guardiola teams you win relentlessly, but he does this by refreshing the squad, and with only Savinho coming in so far, it's maybe not big enough a refresh, I don't think. I think psychologically, if you keep winning, how do you keep motivating yourself to go again? Well, you could argue 5 titles in a row would be a very neat number, and it'd again be unprecedented. But really, I think Arsenal, despite not winning the league yet, they're building confidence, they're building momentum. They got closer last season in the sense that they didn't fall away like they did 2 years ago. They stayed toe-to-toe with City right until the end and could have won the league on the final day. It was really that Aston Villa result that slipped up the title for Arsenal. But they went to the Etihad, they drew 0-0. They also beat Manchester City at home. They drew at Anfield. They beat Liverpool at home. So they actually had the better of the big guns last season. If they can do that again and just pick up points in the games where they need to, in and around those big games, then I think Arsenal will win the league. I'm going to predict them to get 93 points and do it. And of course, they've signed Calafiori now, which will help them massively in terms of creating that numerical advantage, because Calafiori will play left back. He's good on the ball enough to carry it into midfield with a box. You know, you have Declan Rice, Jorginho, Ødegaard there. They'll suffocate teams a lot more than they were doing last season, because Zinchenko, although he can do this on the ball, he was susceptible defensively, and we saw that in the game that Arsenal ultimately lost to Aston Villa, which cost them the league. And this time, when you've got a centre-back who's good on the ball in that left-hand side position, it will make you more or less susceptible to conceding goals in transition. So I think Arsenal will be even stronger defensively. And also, by the way, how bad is it now that, like, Arsenal's backline is going to be 4 centre-backs just across that back 4. Pep as well is pretty similar with Vardiol and Akanji. Oh, it's disgusting, but it gets the job done. Yes, so onto the other side of North London now, and Tottenham Hotspur. I think they've been going very, very quietly about their business and building on what they did last season. If you cast your mind back to last season, they won the first 8 games of the season and were top of the league, and that's when Postecoglou had a fully fit squad. And the reason I say Tottenham will finish third and will push up the table is because Postecoglou's strike rate with transfers that he's brought in is extraordinary. You look last season before Spurs had injuries, James Maddison was absolutely flying in that 10 position in those pockets of space. Mickey van der Ven was a revelation in that back line. Vicario as well between the sticks was a massive upgrade on Hugo Lloris, who also had Destiny Udogie at left back, who is absolutely supreme. And now they've added Archie Gray, who is 18 years old. People will be thinking maybe he won't play that many games. He will start most games for Tottenham. He is that good on the ball. What he's going to do now is allow Postecoglou to be a lot more tactically flexible. He can go with a back 3 or a back 4. He can create that 5 bank across midfield because Archie Gray can play right back, left back, centre defensive mid. And when he's in centre defensive mid as well, he can also push out onto that left-hand side to give Spurs width. And then Spurs can push those full-backs, Porro and Udogie, inside and invert them. So I think it gives Postecoglou so many more options. If he keeps a fit squad this season, I really think Spurs will soar up the table. And also you look at Archie Gray with his age, I think he'll play a lot of games because you look at Adam Wharton and Kobbie Mainoo, they are also both in a similar age bracket and are delivering at a club level but also being in the England squad as well. So I've said this saying before, but if you're good enough, then you're good enough to play. Like, it doesn't matter about your age. So I think Spurs will finish third. Yep, I think Bayer Leverkusen will win the league again. I'm not sure if that's a hot take given the fact that he literally didn't lose a game last season, but there's been no indication to say that that's going to change based on the transfer activity. So far they've spent about 50 million euros. They brought in a left winger in Martin Terrier from Stade Rennais. They've also brought in Alish Garcia from Girona. Of course, Girona had an amazing season in La Liga last year, and Garcia was a key part of it in that middle of the park. Very, very astute on the ball. Spanish as well. They're all astute on the ball. And a young centre-half, Belassian, from Stade Rennais as well for 50 million euros. So they've been dipping in the French market and La Liga as well. But more importantly, right, when you look at their departures, they've lost no one. They've lost Asmoon, Pence, but like these are players who really didn't play much of a part for Leverkusen last season. And you look at Jeremy Frimpong, who had a £35 million buyout clause. They've managed to keep him, which was probably the most precarious player they had on their books in terms of losing them. Florian Wirtz, valued at over 100 million. Real Madrid touted to be interested in him. They're going to hold on to Wirtz as well. You got the centre-halves in the team as well as Grimaldo, Boniface, all these players who like are very, very well renowned now. They've held on to their entire team, and it's a fantastic team on paper, so logically nothing should change, and history also teaches you this in the Bundesliga. You cast your mind back to the 11-12 season when Borussia Dortmund won the Bundesliga, the last side that weren't Bayern Munich to win it, that weren't Bayer Leverkusen, and everyone thought, well, surely that team of Kagawa, Lewandowski, Goetze, Hummels, Piszczek, these kind of players, it's going to get raided, surely. But no, Jurgen Klopp held on to his key players and also built on it by signing the likes of Marco Reus and Ilkay Gundogan as well, and then consequently Borussia Dortmund that season in 12-13 reached the Champions League final. They didn't win the Bundesliga, but that is because Bayern Munich was such a bloody good team back then, and they're not really now. I mean, they're a good team, but they're not what they were 10 years ago. So let's talk about Bayern Munich. It's turbulent at the moment at Bayern Munich. It just simply is. Tuchel got sacked last season. They didn't win the league. They got knocked out slightly unjustifiably, in my opinion, in the Champions League, but they got knocked out nonetheless. And it's all just a bit not right. Now, don't get me wrong, they've signed 2 very, very good players in Michael Olise and João Palhinha. They'll give them a lot more options. Olise hugging that right-hand side. Palhinha is an amazing central defensive midfielder, an upgrade on what they had last season with Pavlovic playing there for large parts of the season. But realistically, right, and you could say this is hypocritical because Xabi Alonso was kind of the same, but Vincent Kompany is now managing them. A manager that just got Burnley relegated with minus 37 goal difference, a refusal to change his principles or his ideas in a relegation scrap, for instance, keeping James Trafford in net for large parts of the season when he was facing so much scrutiny, and just, you know, goalkeeping such a psychological position that when you're having a bad spell, it doesn't really get much better until you are sidelined and given a bit of a breather. Company just kept him in for way too long until the damage was done, and the football wasn't great. and somehow he's wangled the Bayern Munich job. Like, yes, Xabi Alonso was unproven, but he was a student of the game, much like Kompany, and he came into the Leverkusen job and set the world alight, taking them from the bottom of the table to 6th in his first season. That's at the top level of football, and he has proved his weight in gold. Vincent Kompany did win the championship, which is a very, very difficult division to win, but he did it with the most expensively assembled squad in the process, whereas Alonso just didn't do any of that. So I think Alonso is a much better manager than Vincent Kompany. That is not a hot take. And I think right now you could argue he's got a better team because he's kept all of his players who went unbeaten last season and would have gone unbeaten for the whole season if it wasn't for that Europa League final. Is Vincent Kompany as good a manager as Xabi Alonso? No. Has he got as good a team? Yes, you could argue, but I think Alonso's team is so well drilled now and they should be brimming with confidence, especially going into the Champions League as well. So I think similar to how Borussia Dortmund were under Jurgen Klopp, I think Alonso will absolutely kick on, and I think his decision to stay at Leverkusen was a good one. It'll get the fans on side, the players, it will instill more confidence than less confidence, and I fully expect them to retain the Bundesliga title. Not unbeaten, that would be absolutely insane. They won't do it unbeaten, but I think they'll do it. Oh yeah, as well, that would also mean that Harry Kane still hasn't won a trophy. Sorry, mate. Sorry, I had to say it. Anyway, there we go. They were 3 new hot takes for you to indulge into before the start of the domestic season. I've said Arsenal will win the league, Leverkusen will retain, and Tottenham will finish 3rd. We'll see how those fare in 9 months' time. My strike rate so far has been about 50-50. I did say that Atletico Madrid would win the Champions League last season. They didn't. I said Dortmund would win the final. They didn't. But I did say Spain would win the Euros final 2-1. So, you know, every cloud. Don't forget to subscribe to DAZN Sport down below, though, guys. We have a variation of different bits of content throughout the season, as you will know. So you can stay up to date with all that by subscribing. I've been Adam Monk. Have a lovely day or weekend whenever you're watching this. Take care. I'll see you soon for another one. Goodbye.